Hey there, this is Eric Olvin, owner, guitar designer, and luthier of Sunland Guitars. In this video, I'm going to be going over the surf design of our Dynasty Collection. Um, I'll be going over some background with the name, some of the specs and uniqueness of the design and qualities of it, and then some of the variations or customization options for you with this design. All right, so let's start with the background. The surf is one of those designs that was organically designed in this process based on inspiration from Florida wildlife and plant life and specific things that Florida is known for. Sunland guitars, Sunland came from, Florida and just, another nickname for it. And so I really wanted this design to come from that inspiration um, for the state that I live in, and I think this is one of those that was very very organic and authentic, and probably the most I guess the craziest looking design I think in the collection. And I got the the name from the waves on the side. It looks like waves, or so it hit me when I saw the surf. I had a whole bunch of names saved up, and when I saw that, I think it really resonated with me. And then just as a disclaimer here, this is just a render. It's not a real photograph. So as you can see, like some of the thicknesses are a little off, or, maybe where some of the screws or everything is placed. This is really just to get a good idea of, of what this is going to look like when it's completely built in or in a model stage. And, serve as a placeholder until we get more of them made and we get pictures. All right, and then I do want to go over the size comparison. So all of these designs in the Dynasty model fit within or very similar to a Strat outline, which should come up here soon. And I did that one because of the case. Um, I want it to be able to fit in a standard case instead of a custom one. And then also, as I'm going to show you here before I miss the opportunity, this curve right here where it would sit on your knee is in the exact same place as on a Strat. So I know that when you sit and play with it, or as just for like scale comparisons, that where this guitar stands. And really that just kind of like little tail that it has is the only thing that really sticks out and beyond it, but it fits within an open Strat style case instead of needing a custom one, because I think that is just a little crazy when companies are building new and unique models and it needs its own custom case. I just don't think that's very fair to the customer to need a custom case designed and built every time you need one. All right, let's start with the headstock. You get three different variations built in. The headless option is an upgrade because it requires a couple extra very expensive things, but you get the 3-3, which is a condensed 3-3, and then a 6 standard like that is rendered here, and then a 6 reverse. I felt like the 6 standard was the uh I guess the one that looked the most cohesive to this design, so that's why I had it rendered here. And I wanted to touch on the condensed 3-3 that I spoke of. It's very similar to an EVH Wolfgang model. And the reason for that is because ideally you want the strings to stay straight throughout the entire length of the guitar, from the saddles all the way up to the tuning pegs. So when you have like a Gibson 3-3 or even a more exaggerated Dean V 3-3, that splits the strings at the nut, that puts a lot of extra tension on the nut and a lot of extra tension on the strings that aren't necessary. So that's why I choose to do a 3-3 in condensed 3-3, so that it keeps the strings all in one straight line. And then the reason I chose to give you guys that choice between what headstock you want is because I'm building these by hand. Let's make them however you want them to be made. I don't want to choose that for you, and I'll get into that a little more later. All right, but let's continue with the neck design and manufacturing. I um I manufacture these necks based off of a Fender design, even though it might not be rendered that way, or looking that way at least. But so it's one solid piece of wood and then playing down at the headstock. The reason for that is I think that that design and that manufacturing process is the most efficient and the most effective way of doing it. Coming from a manufacturing and repair background, adding on a scarf joint is a lot of extra time and energy, and I don't think it's necessary. And then also, I do not want to be fixing broken headstocks on my guitars. So, uh, that's why I use one solid piece of wood because that grain, naturally, the way that it is very strong. It's very sturdy, and we can get a good break angle on the nut just by planing down the headstock like on a Fender and then using a string trees, or I actually prefer the kind of rail right behind the nut. All right, let's continue with the body design. So like I said, it fits within a Strat outline. This one is very authentic, very unique. I'm sure the points probably kind of negate a little bit of this, but as you can see with that kind of back carved out like that, is very similar to the Strat. I love how that feels. It feels great against your ribs when you're playing, and so why not put that on all the guitars? But it is customizable, just like the bevels you see here on the top. We get a good zoom in here around the neck pocket and then around the curve up to the um, down to the tail. That doesn't have to be there. I actually have several other variations of other bevels. I just feel like this is the most cohesive and probably the one that I prefer. But there are many other variations that we can go over, and that is another thing that's customizable. The only thing that's not customizable on these guitars is the overall outline. Otherwise, we can change the bevels, we can cut out anything extra that you want or shave off anything you want. The neck is completely customizable to your specs. So the scale length, the frets, the nut width, the width of the strings in the nut, um, everything is customizable because I'm not the one going to be playing this guitar. So I don't feel like I have. Why should I decide what goes on this guitar and how this guitar plays and is built? When you're the one who's going to be purchasing this guitar and playing it going forward. So let's make it exactly the way that you want. And that even goes into the electronics configuration. This one I just wanted to render with a humbucker and single coil just because it's a little something different. But this could be anything. It could be one pickup, two pickup, three pickups. You could put an HSS in here, HSH, three single coils like on a Strat. You could do a tele setup on this if you wanted to. It doesn't matter. It's whatever you want, and whatever you want this guitar to be is what I'm going to do my best to make it. And with that, there's some things that I really don't like to have on the guitars, and the first thing we'll get into that with is the finish. I do not believe in high gloss paint jobs or high gloss finishes and paint. This is really, all that extra time and effort goes on to you in the back end, and it's really not necessary. Tone woods have become kind of a controversial topic, but if there is tone that comes from the wood, the body of the guitar, then why would you cover it up with all those layers of paint and all those layers of poly or nitro? It's just not necessary at all. With my guitars, it's open grain, no grain filler, natural stains and dyes, or translucent kind of dyed lacquer that we could get a good effect from. And then a few quick coats of nitro is all that's necessary on these guitars. But I really believe in showcasing the wood and that it is made out of wood and what wood it's made out of. And we can do a lot of creative things like spruce finishes with ash. We can do bursts, we can do gradients. Really bring it to me. Let's get creative with some of the styes and stains and dyes and see what we can do with it. And then with the neck, it's just a true oil finish on the neck that's really nice. It's comfortable. It's smooth, and your hand doesn't get caught on it. With those few coats of nitro, it's really just with whatever kind of sheen you want. So with a couple coats, it's more of a satin, but if we put a few more coats on there, it gets a little more glossy. Willing to work with you on all that stuff. And then the other add-ons that I'm not very wild about, but we could talk about is binding and inlays. Once again, you're removing wood, the natural quality of the guitar, and you're replacing it with something very similar to plastic, if not actually plastic. And also that goes with you know pickguard surround or pickup surrounds or mounts, and pick guards. Those are just pieces of plastic that you're attaching to the guitar, and it's just not necessary. It's covering up the actual, organic nature and quality of the guitar, and I don't think it's necessary. But you can choose those things. It'll be an additional cost. Just with fancy inlays, the same thing as I want to leave these guitars as natural to the wood as possible. So, and preserving as much tone and natural playability as possible. All right. So that's all I got for you with the Surf. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me. I'd love to build this guitar for you. Talk to you later.